Hello folks, it is time for some more hobby nightmares. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm hoping to get some more B-roll footage of some more models from Minimaker tomorrow, so I've just sent them a message today to get some of that through, so hopefully we have some more to show you tomorrow. Minimaker are a fantastic service, so if you want any more models to maybe proxy for some GW stuff, or maybe for any other games like One Page Rules or Battletech or whatever it is that you want out there, the old world, things like that, head over to Minimaker. They're down in the description down below, and they do some amazing models with amazing service and worldwide shipping for €10. 10. Doesn't matter where you are. It could be in Wellington, New Zealand. They'd still get their models to you for that price. Can't say fairer than that. Anyway, let's move on to our first hobby nightmare of the day, and it is from Cecil. How's it going, Cecil? How's it going, dude? He says, "Greetings, Mr. North. Before anything, English is not my first language, so I might make a few mistakes whilst writing. No problem, man." Do you know, whenever somebody says that to me, it's always impeccable. It's almost like they take the time to reread their work to make sure it's okay. But anyway, let's dive in. "I have been a listener for more than a year, and your stories about how marvellous the hobby was and is contributed to me getting into 40k. And after all this time hearing about your negative experiences and maybe even stereotypes of players of certain factions, I decided to send you a hobby nightmare of my own related to Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay. My overall nightmare is about an archetype of cards called Hero, and its players who became my Space Wolves. For those not really versed in Yu-Gi-Oh!, these are all the cards of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime protagonist. I have no idea what that means. I'm not a weeaboo, but let's move on. I've had multiple negative experiences around my overall time in the game with hero players, mostly the usual stuff that happens in TCGS communities. I'm guessing that's trading card game system, right? In trading card game system communities. Seriously, I don't know why each and every time I encountered them, they were, not very nice or something displeasing happened. I swear there was something evil with that deck. Every time it came up, I had a bad experience with the player at hand. At this point, I can't remember, well, every anecdote, but the following is the one I remember the best, which is why I'm using it. To contextualise, back when I was a poor student lad, my only income was a really small weekly allowance, which I spent in transportation and my dog's food, ending with little to zero money. Some months passed since the great Coof lockdown ended. You're from Eastern Europe. Or somewhere like that. I don't know. Maybe you're not in the Coof lockdown. Even before the lockdown, I was kind of a loner and saw this as an opportunity to pick a hobby and go out more. So I decided to pick Yu-Gi-Oh! Got a bunch of random cards, got crushed, picked a starter deck which took a lot of financial effort, so much that I decided I'm not getting a new one ever. I embraced it like, this is my personality now. Just like a 2000 toy selling cartoon like Bakugan, Beyblade, etc., where the element/thing, it's like a mirror of their personality. I would talk more about this period of my hobby life, but it's a story for another time if you deem it worthy. I do, because, when your hobby takes over your life, there are so many times, especially when the pandemic was going on, the hobby nightmares we would get after that was all about, people losing themselves to the hobby. Do you know what I mean? Because they've got nothing else. It's a really empty place to be. The hobby is a reward, man. The hobby is something that you do because you've had a nice day, or you want to relax after working, or you want to, you know what I mean? It's something that it accentuates your life. It adds something to your life. It doesn't become your life. If it does that, then, we've used the phrase house built on sand before, right? And that's exactly what your life is if your hobby kind of takes over the entire kit and caboodle. Anyway. The nightmare began at the local game store weekly tournament. It was round 3 or 4, and I get assigned an opponent. The game starts, and before we started to shuffle each other's decks, my opponent, Jensen, started remarking with a smirk on his face how expensive and max rarity his deck was, so I should treat it accordingly. Sure, I told him. I know how expensive this game can be. We shuffled, but he took my deck like it was an old rag and started power shuffling and taking looks on what I had, and noticed he was trying to stack my deck. How did you notice that? Okay, now, I love asking questions of the community in the comment section, because you're all so much more knowledgeable about things like this than I am. Is this something you can just do? That seems like a really high level skill to, like, you know, stack somebody's deck like that. That's crazy. Anyway, I didn't care, since I never tried to stack mine and have it in a very random order, so this kind of cheating never really worked for my opponents. It usually backfired somehow. I shuffle as careful and as little as possible, but I got several remarks from Jensen on how I was doing it wrong and should just stop it. This annoyed me a bit. I just assured them that I'm being careful and finished shuffling to the start the duel. Then I noticed he was a hero player. I sigh and cross fingers, knowing what this might mean given my past experiences. He wins game 1 with little resistance from my part and seems really pumped by it. During the second game, while he was doing his plays, I closely point towards a card without touching it and ask Jensen if I can read it. This clearly appears to bother him a lot, and he tells me to put away my finger since I could tap with my nail and ruin the card, and yet again he tells me how rare it is, and would rather read it for me its effect instead. The first time I let it pass, but I'm getting suspicious and comment about considering not bringing that max rarity of cards to a game if he wants to preserve them. I end up winning the second game thanks to a stroke of dumb luck. Game 3. His behaviour worsens and starts getting into my nerves even if I'm a bit of a chill guy. The smirk turns into a grin. We shuffle again, but this time he gets even more insistent in shuffling himself, and nearly each time I try to cut, I get some remark on the value of the cards. I like people who are passionate about their deck or want to flex some rare cards, but this is getting a bit ridiculous. A single card slips onto the game mat. No big deal, right? Jensen, in a more serious note, gives me an ultimatum and demands to give his deck back to him. North, I genuinely was being as cautious as I could, but the sheer size of the deck made it difficult to shuffle and be doable safely. I apologised, stopped the shuffle, placed the deck in the middle of the board, and pick up the card to give it back to him. God, I just want to have fun with a children's card game. He snatches the card from my fingers and reprimands me about treating it incorrectly, quote unquote. This annoyed me even more, but I tried to de-escalate the situation and just replied, well, maybe double sleeve to be more secure then? It is double sleeved, Jensen replies. Oh, then triple sleeve. It has a triple sleeve already. Finally, I snap, and Sam just shut the hell up then. I felt tempted to accidentally let his pile of cards slip from my hand and hopefully hit the floor, but I contained myself. I would have kept my cool better, but his remarks and behaviour cut deeper than it should because, since I said before, I was just a poorish loner trying to find a space to be happier and engage with a community. I know, getting into a hobby won't bring you friends, however, I tried to do something. No, dude, who says that? Who says that? I don't say that. I don't say that getting into a hobby doesn't make you friends. I say the opposite. Quite literally, the opposite. No, you've done the right thing, and I get your frustration. I really do. You know, there's nothing worse than like being on the bottom of the totem pole on things like this, and having things dangled in front of you, like, you know, look at me, kind of a thing. It's just, it's like being a bad winner, right? You'll know what I mean. You've all come across a bad winner in the past, right? Somebody who wins a game of something and just won't let it go. Or we've had this before on the channel before, where, you know, some guy, let's say there are 20 points in a game and a guy wins 19 straight points, you know, and his opponent just wants to win this 1 point, but the guy plays like for blood and literally refuses to even let him win that one and wins 20-0, right? That kind of a guy. Yeah. That's a bad winner, in my opinion. That's just a bad winner, you know. The game has a spirit to it, okay? Every game has a spirit to it, and I've yet to come across any game where the spirit isn't both players having fun. If your game isn't about both players having fun, you've created, drumroll, a really, really bad game. You've created a game that I want to stay the hell away from. I don't want to be anywhere near that game. Quite simple, really. Anyway, this story has a happy ending, though. I surrendered game 3 and gave him the victory, saying I needed to go home already, which was true. Some other players encouraged me to play it to a draw so Jensen gets pushed down in overall scoring, but I insisted. It's better to strike from the higher ground with your morality and ego intact. While I was packing, one of the few dudes who I actually enjoyed playing with approached me asking for a quick game. Let's call him Pete. Since both of us already finished the round, I was a bit hesitant but agreed and sat at the table next to where I was playing. We had a fairly bricky but fun duel, all the while I could feel the dagger of Jensen's gaze in my neck. But it didn't matter, I was having a blast with this new game. I barely won, and Pete gave me a card he pulled that was not valuable but could be useful to me. It's those few moments I cherish the most and why I decided to pick up the game as a hobby. Ideally, to play is to escape and become innocent and leave behind second intentions, hubris, greed, envy, personal problems, and enjoy the purity of the moment. I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly. I think this is all for now, and hopefully I won't have any more nightmares to tell. Bye now. Alright, and don't you dare to pick or touch a single hero card and their taint. Cheers. Okay, I won't. Mainly because I'm not very good at tabletop card games, and I've never really, done them. But anyway, moving on. Alright, our next one is from Warvane the Wanderer. Alrighty. He says, Dear Mr. Northern Exile, this is a tale of how it took me 2 decades to get my own army for Warhammer 40,000. I've been lurking in the Discord and listening to your channel for about a year now, and finally decided to send in my story. You can call me Warvane, or just War, as that's what most people call me online, and is my Discord name. Please sip whatever drink you prefer as we go through this. I will break this tale into 2 parts and give the location as it is relevant. For a backstory, I was born in Alaska. But for context, my parents divorced when I was 2 years old and were remarried by the time I was 3 to people that already had children. So I jumped back and forth a lot. One side of my family was super religious, Dad, and the other was more about the party, Mum, and at times I got a bit lost in the middle. Disclaimer, this tale does have some darker parts, but I will try not to get into that too much. Alright, attempt number 1 to get into Warhammer 40,000. Colorado in 2004. I was invited to a schoolmate's house for a sleepover, and all was grand. Too much candy and soda, but we were having a blast. Until I heard yelling from the back room, and upon investigation, my mind was blown. My friend's older brother had a table set up in the garage. Around it were about 4 or 5 dudes, all screaming to the high heavens, and upon the table was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. Before me was a board of minis and homemade terrain, but the vibe and excitement was palpable. I believe it was after the 4th edition of 40k, but watching my friend's older brother and his friends lose their minds over this game was enough to get me into it. The following day, I went to my dad and told him about the great night I'd had, and asked him if I could get some of the little army men to play this tabletop game. Now, my dad was an old-school Midwestern Christian man, and as soon as he realised that it had demons in it, the answer was a hard no. He also thought Dungeons and Dragons was devil worship, but we won't labour on that. I protested, but all was in vain. This game was not going to be allowed in my house at all. Thankfully, my friend's brother would let me play any time I was over at their place and taught me the game with the Space Marines, but sadly, they moved away not long after. So this game would be shelved for now, as I didn't know anybody else who played it. Alright. Attempt 2. Washington. 2005 to 2006. Visiting my mum's place for the summer, as I did most summers because Dad had full custody, I was allowed to do whatever I wanted. Me and my younger brother played all the games and watched all the anime that was out at the time. I had forgotten about the crazy game that pitted the tiny soldiers against each other at this point, until one day when my mum took me to the mall that was about 30 minutes away from home. As we went through the shops enjoying our day, I came across a game store. Not a Games Workshop, just a board game / hobby store, and I saw it. A Nurgle Demon Prince conversion in the window, and I was in awe. I really wanted it, but didn't have enough money to get it. My mum said, "It's okay, we can come back next week." Okay, and off we went. Now this part is hard to describe. On the way home after a great day out, we witnessed a bad car crash. Mum was a volunteer firefighter and EMT in training, and as we watched the brutal head-on collision, all happiness of the day left. Long story short, I as a 15-year-old watched the man bleed out on the side of the road as my mother tried to stabilise him. After which all games were forgotten and I lost my childhood spark, beginning to spiral into a deep and dark depression. Looking back at it now, I probably should have gone to some kind of therapy for this, but I was really good at hiding my emotions and problems on account of growing up in a split household. Dude, your self-awareness does you credit, man. You really do know your own brain. Anyway. Attempt 3. Colorado. 2007 to 2008. Moving around so much as I did, it was almost impossible to have a steady friend group. 4 different high schools in 4 years. My senior year of high school came. I was in a new school. New people, but that was the same old shtick to me. I already have enough credits to graduate, but since some of my previous school classes were out of state, the school didn't count them towards my graduation. So, as a senior, or 12th grader, I was forced to retake 9th and 10th grade math, science, history and English. Soon, most teachers would realise that I really shouldn't be in those classes and would just give me the day's work, which I would fill out quickly, hand it in, and most would let me leave. Not all, but most of my teachers wouldn't make me stay in the classroom. Yeah, there are some idiot teachers out there, man. Like, I'd be shooing you away. I'd be like, you don't want to be here, go away. Like, do the work, your work's done, good, yeah, go, bye. My big dream at this point was to join the military. I was in ROTC, Reserve Officers Training Corps, and had already taken the ASVAB, Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery, which I scored really high on and was set on going to officers training after graduation. Now, I had my plans, my dreams, and half a year till graduations, but I was bored, so started partaking with some of the other ROTC guys. Nothing crazy, but drinks and maybe a little green here and there. As the year progressed, I started to party more and more. Even though I wanted to join the military, I started to ignore my responsibilities. Yeah, dude, the devil makes work for idle hands. Yeah, if you've got nothing going on, you're a kid with a lot of testosterone flowing around. Yeah, you're not going to remain, how do we put it, bored for long. Here is where I met Dave Jensen, or Asshat, as that is what I call him most. A friend wants to skip school and get some green, so I go along. A small rundown white house with grass that's 3 foot tall in the front yard and a smell that you can almost taste as you get closer to the front door. Asshat answers the door and is a short white guy with all the neckbeard stereotypes. Things honestly are okay at first, but as I'm looking around, I find a shelf full of minis, mostly orcs and Tzeentch demons. Asshat, seeing me staring at his models, asks if I play 40k, to which I say yes, but it's been a long time. What follows is, for months, we would, after school, or skip the classes, to go and play 40k with Asshat whilst getting intoxicated. It was glorious. Now, as I was still not allowed to keep anything at home, so I started getting some minis of my own, and Asshat let me keep them at his place, because that's the only place I played anyway. And he sold us things that 17 and 18-year-olds can't really get. I ended up graduating with okay grades, nothing special, but as I hadn't applied myself for months, it came as no surprise. I was still working with ROTC trainers, and had mostly stopped smoking the green, and was just drinking. 3 months before I'm due to ship out for boot camp, I get invited to a party, jump in my car, grab my friends, and head down that way. My buddy lights up a joint and we start smoking. 15 minutes later, I am in handcuffs on the sidewalk. Long story short, I end up doing 1 week in jail, 3 months community service, lose my driver's license, and get told I will not be allowed into the military. Dude, that's absolutely... Ugh. There are some times where I just wish people would like be caught breaks somewhere, like here or there, you know. This just sucks, man. This sucks so much. Like one mistake, but I could see it coming. Like your behaviour slipping, man. I can see it coming. You know what I mean? I was devastated. Yeah, I'm sure you were. After all this drama, I go to Asshat's house and ask for my minis back. What minis? He asks. my minis that I left here, you know, the Nurgle demons I was painting, I said. This motherfucking asshat looks me dead in the face and says, I don't know of any other demon other than Tzeentch, and anything in this house belongs to me. My rage is building, and I'm getting ready to hit this asshat in the teeth. But he backs away and says, no, we wouldn't want another charge, would we? Wow. I thought you were cool, man, what the fuck? I scream, and he just smiles back at me like the asshat he was. I storm away knowing I can't really do anything. No proof of ownership, can't get my dad involved, and asshat knows he can lie and get me into trouble with my probation officer. What followed for me was what I call the years of strife. Depression, drug abuse, all of them, alcoholism, smoking cigarettes, and just a hard life surrounded by the worst types of people. I have plenty of horror stories from those days, but I'll try and stay on topic. Lads, if you want to know what a slippery slope you can go down, and what a single, really stupid mistake can cost you, take this into account, alright? I'm serious. Take this into account. Right, moving on. Attempt 4. Washington, Colorado, Alaska, 2009 to 2012. Following the years of strife, I had pulled myself away from the drugs and party life after hearing about my dad's cancer diagnoses. All is good now. Putting myself on a 3-day train ride to clean up withdrawals from Washington back to Colorado. I reunited with my dad's side of the family and started to get my life cleaned up. I took care of my grandparents for several years, living with them until 2012 when I moved back to Alaska with my cousin. All was good. I was finding myself again after living out in the middle of nowhere of Alaska, living with roommates that were also nerds. We spent the days working and playing games. Any Total War games were the best. I believe this is around 6th edition, but I started reading books in the Black Library and getting back into the lore side of things. The problem was that there was no game store or groups that were around me, so I just waited my time. Attempt 5. Alaska. This is great, I love this. Like a movie. 2016 to 2019. I moved back to the town I was born in, where my mum had also moved back years prior. Planning on only staying till I could move south to the lower 48 again. Yes, the lower 48 in the US, that is not Hawaii or Alaska. Working and hanging out with family, I was not looking for much from this town. Not planning on staying long, but waiting to have some quality time with the family that was here. We started playing D&D, me the dungeon master, teaching my family how to play, while watching anime and gaming with my brother again like we did before back in Washington. I was finally feeling better as a person, comfortable and confident. Then, I met her. She is from the Philippines. She is beautiful, and we hit it off. Dude, this is what you... Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb. This is what you needed, right? A traditional Southeast Asian conservative hottie. To set you right, because they don't take any shit, right? This kind of a woman, she will literally make you a household, man. She'll straighten you out. Because she knows, in her culture, right, her biggest asset is you. The man. You're the man in her life. You're her biggest asset. You're her biggest thing. You're her project. If she can get you right, she's got an easy life. And if she can get you right, she can have her kid, she can have her house, she can have everything. She knows, she sees potential in you. There's no more fixer-uppers in this world than Southeast Asian ladies. Ask any dude married to one. They are fixer-uppers. I'm quite lucky because I've got one from Britain, but she's still a fixer-upper. She's like, you know, she saw me. She was like, that's a project I want to get involved in, and she just rebuilt me. You know, now she lives an easy life, man. We've got a good relationship. But I think, you know, a lot of Southeast Asian ladies are the same, right? They see you as their thing. You're their project. You're their man, right? You know, you're in a partnership, don't get me wrong, but they're quite happy to be at home with the kids while you go and go out there and earn, right? And they will put you in a position with foundations where you can get to that point. So, as soon as you said Philippines there, I thought, yes, good. We're going to see hopefully we see the story turn around and be positive now. We'll see, though. I might be wrong. You might be you might have come across the exception to the rule, we'll see. Anyway, we started dating, and she joined our family D&D group, and I was happy as a clam. One trip to the game store, she saw me staring at the Warhammer shelf and asked what I was looking at. It was the first strike box with Death Guard and Space Marines. I explained the game and a little about the lore. I know I was basically drooling over the box, but didn't think anything of it till she gave me the Combat Patrol box later that year for my birthday. Once again, I was back into the hobby, happily building my Poxwalkers and getting ready to paint. The local game store had 4 or 5 tables that could be played on. The main focus was Magic the Gathering, but they played 40k twice a month, and you could arrange a pickup game as long as there were no Magic the Gathering tournament games going on. I talked to several guys at the store, and one, Steve, was super cool, and said he would play any type of game and just hit him up when I was ready to play any points or lists or anything. I was pumped to build my 1000 point Death Guard list to play Steve. Me and my girlfriend ended up getting a place together, and my life looked amazing. A supportive partner, new home, back in the hobby, and we got a dog named Odin. Until Grandpa Nurgle blessed us with his gifts. When the lockdown started, most people were at home with time to hobby. I was a butcher and working 50 hours a week, so once again the hobby was put on the shelf. My minis ended up going into the loft storage area, only half done, painting my Combat Patrol box. Damn, son, you're nearly there. Nearly there. Attempt number 6. Alaska, 2023 to current. After the crazy time of the pandemic, things settled down for me. Me and my girlfriend ended up getting married and having a beautiful little girl. Told you. Told you. Life can put you through the ringer at times, but I never would have guessed to be as blessed as I am now. Dude, she straightened you out. I'm telling you now. She saw you. She saw potential, right? And by the way, like, again, Southeast Asian ladies, sometimes they don't. There are some shallow people out there, as there are in all walks of life. But again, when I was younger, I don't know why, but I ended up dating like 2 or 3 in a row, like ladies from like Hong Kong who lived over here, you know, at university, you know, Filipinos who'd come over to university, things like that, because you meet different people at university, right? So, but all of their families were all like, you know, literally, I called them fixer-uppers as I did before, right? They see potential in you, and they see past. They don't really see physical attractiveness. Now, if you are physically attractive, that's great, right? But they see the potential more than anything else, right? They see like this, oh, this guy's going to have a good job. This guy works hard, right? This guy's got good values, you know? That's the kind of thing they'll look for. She saw you, mate. She straightened you out. That's what she did. Anyway, life can put you through the ringer at times, but I never would have guessed to be as blessed as I am now. Once the wedding stress was over, shortly after we got the pregnancy news, a whirlwind of a couple of years, so many things to do from plans to baby cribs and beyond. When feeding or watching the baby, I started to watch the TV. The telly, and Space Marine 2 rumours and ads started popping up. The bug of 40k started to come back. I found a couple of good deals on eBay and decided to finally finish my 1000 point list and hit Steve up to play that game we talked about all those years prior. Happily building and painting at night or when baby is napping and I am on my way. I dive headfirst back into the lore and decide to build a Demon Engine heavy Death Guard list. Heading back to the hobby store to find it has moved to a much smaller location with 1 table. I get some paint and ask the staff, which I didn't recognise, if Steve is still around, only to find out they had recently moved to the lower 48. Do you still play 40k here, I ask? And yes, they do, but only once a month. Sometimes twice, but only on Sundays. 2,000 points is the standard, and you might have to wait for your turn for the table, the staff says. To which the Magic the Gathering guys sitting around the only table start muttering about it's a bad game anyway, and no one should give Games Workshop money. Dude, I'm going to be honest with you, like, this is a tiresome thing I see from Magic the Gathering players and card game players, right? You don't want to give Games Workshop money? You give Wizards money, mate. The only company worse than Games Workshop. Right? Is it Wizards or is it Hasbro? Who, I know they're owned by some asshole of a company. Magic the Gathering. They're owned by some arsehole of company. Yeah, they're owned by Wizards, told you. Right, yeah. The only company worse. And there you are, handing the money over for pieces of card that are literally worthless in any other context. Shut your face. Anyway, I was confused by this. 40k in the hobby had only been held in high regard by anybody that I had talked to throughout my life, besides my dad, who still thinks it's silly, but no longer thinks it's demon worship. Low-key, I like your dad, low-key. That's really funny. So I took to YouTube and found one Northern Exile rants about Games Workshop and how bad the prices, treatment of fans, and lore really were. Honestly, I was kinda shocked. Well, I hope it didn't turn you off the hobby. I had noticed the price jumps, but figured inflation in my location had a play in it, but upon further research, I found more and more people or channels saying the same thing. I almost gave up the hobby again, but I continued to listen to you, and the more I listened, the more I said, fuck it, I love this hobby, I'm my death guard, and even if I only get a game in every couple of months, I won't stop painting and modelling because it does have a zen quality to it, and I love it. Good. Well, thank you very much for saying that, because a lot of people are like, you're so negative and this and that, I really, it's one thing that really, it doesn't bug me, because I've got better things to do with my time, but I just wish it wasn't out there, because you're so negative, you do this and oh my god, but you don't really get it. Like, I do positive and negative. I do entire videos based on the positivity of the hobby, right? Like entire hobby nightmares and rants based on how cool the hobby is. A lot of these guys are Games Workshop apologists, who are literally finding any reason to back them up, and they'll say anything, dude. I don't know. But hey, I'm glad you saw the... Yeah, Northern Exile content is a spectrum, right? We cover negative and positive things. What I want you to take away from my channel is, one, better mental health, number one, because you've got a mate who's talking to you, like we're in a bar or something. And number two, you bring in the full spectrum of the hobby, the bad and the good, on both sides. You get it. Anyway. You've written concussion here. I think you meant conclusion. Writing this out has been kind of a struggle. Thinking about stuff that I'd been suppressing for years, but at the same time, I feel a wave of relief pour over me, as I can finally share my hobby frustrations somewhere. I have played TTS, and it's okay, but I want to feel the dice and move my painted minis up the board in battle. I have yet to get a game at a store, as I work some days, and I don't quite have 2,000 points of list yet. And can't change my whole family's schedule so that I might get a game in. I wish I had a voice of reason like yours earlier in life, but what you and your channel do is amazing. Cheers, man. To all listeners, life can be a dark and bleak place, but it never has to stay that way. I honestly thought I would never be able to feel love and most likely end up dead in a ditch, but only you can make the change. Support is out there, but you have to want it. I learned this the hard way and have the scars to prove it. Embrace those you love and learn to love yourself even if it is a work in progress. Surround yourself with positive vibes and work on improving yourself and those around you. I cannot thank you enough for listening to my tale, and even if it's not read out, it feels good just to type out. I welcome feedback or advice from our sage narrator, but I truly know I would prefer it over a pint. Yeah, me too, man. I have a paintball, D&D and lacrosse stories as well, but I shall save those to another date. Love you a long time, Warvane the Wanderer. Dude, send those in, yeah. Send those in. Alrighty. Okay, I'm not going to read that last bit out, but okay, no worries. Yeah, send those in. And you're right in what you say. Never take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. All problems, mental, are temporary, eventually, right? They ease off eventually. Whether through therapy, natural, time, healing you, working things through with your friends, professional therapy, even meds. On very rare occasions, meds can help. I wouldn't advise you to go down that route, but, they can help on rare occasions. But everything among that is temporary, you know what I mean? You don't need to be so, oh my god, it's never going to end. It will end, man. I'm telling you now, it will end. Alright, time for the advice section of the video. This one's from Mike Shannon, and he said he doesn't mind me using his real name, so there we are. And he says, Yo North, this is more of a general thing. I've been working in a hobby store for a few years. Good for you, man. Not a Games Workshop, just your average friendly local game store. And I have eventually worked my way up to managing the place nice, when the owner retired. He still owns it, but we have a good relationship. It's been going well, but everything here in the UK is becoming so expensive. From property to your food shop, and I live in a part of the country that is among the most expensive, and it's getting worse. Whenever I head online to YouTube and other places, I have a little look for other ways I can earn, and I am told I need to hustle. Dude, I hate that word. To get busy, to be working all the time, because if I am not, somebody else will. So, I took the advice and started doing commission painting. Earning some meagre money on the side has been nice, but I've been burning the candle from both ends and I'm becoming exhausted and miserable. I want to be able to support a family one day, and I can do that with the store, but I think I need more. What if something comes along that I cannot afford? The car breaking down, medical expenses, new bills, new babies. It's all a constant worry. I hear a lot of the time that you work a few jobs. How did you come about that? How do you do that without becoming overwhelmed and exhausted? Thanks for all you do, Mike Shannon. Feel free to use my real name. Okay. Few questions there. First of all, realize you're playing a rigged game, my friend. Do not listen. I'm going to say this right now. All hustle YouTubers are bullshit. Okay? Literally. All hustle YouTubers, all those guys saying, all you need to do is work hard and you'll get the rewards. That's bullshit. That's not how life works. You're in a rigged game, my friend. Okay? Sometimes people who work very hard get nothing for their long, hard work and service. They get ground down and they die early because their bodies give up on them. Right? Don't hustle. Don't listen to these people who say you need to be working all hours because if you're not, the next guy over is and he's going to become a millionaire. No, he's not. You're in a rigged game. It's rigged against you. The minute you realise that, the minute you can start working on what's important, your fucking happiness and peace of mind. That's what's important. You are the richest man in the room if you can sit there with little to no worries about who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and who you're surrounded by. If you can do that, you're winning. Forget money. Forget things that you own. Forget all that, right? If you've got your health, and you're surrounded by good people, and you're comfortable in your own skin, you're winning. I've known some dudes who couch surf, right? They don't pay taxes, they work cash in hand, they couch surf, eventually they get their own place, but it's always like a one-bedroom place, and you know what? They're some of the happiest dudes I know, because they're out of the game. I knew a doctor in London who lived in the same house that I did, okay? He quit his job, he went home, and he worked in a hobby store. That's what he did. Right? He worked at Games Workshop first, then worked in a hobby store. And he still works there now. He's still there. He works part-time hours, and all he does, he says, no, I want to afford rent. If I can afford rent and another couple of £100 to just have fun with, I'm done. Right? And he's right. You know, he's 32. Men have a lot of privilege in the fact that we can have babies up until we're like 50, 60, right? It doesn't matter. If you're in your early to mid 30s, you're like approaching the prime of your life. I think men aren't in their prime till they're in the 40s. In all honesty. Maybe biologically, you know, we're past our prime, technically. But in terms of your attractiveness and your success and your mental well-being, when you're in your 40s, that's when it should start to come together. Some people have it later than that, some people have it earlier than that. But most people in the 40s, right? Don't be rushing. Don't be doing all this hustle shite. I'm telling you now, all these people on these YouTube channels got lucky. It's nothing to do with hustle. It's got nothing to do with working hard. They got fucking lucky, dude. Alright? Life smiled upon them. Literally. Dude, the Paul brothers are rich. Example number one, right? The more money than God. Logan and Jake Paul, more money than God. Right? For what? What do they do? I know Logan wrestles now. It ruins that for me as well. But like, yeah, but before that, what do they do? Before the boxing and the wrestling that they do now, that they've made most of their money before all that. So what did they do? They talk shit online. Right? They got lucky. Would you listen to being a YouTuber advice from one of those two people? Of course you wouldn't, right? Because they got lucky. There was no system. They didn't work hard. They got lucky. The algorithm picked them up and threw them onto your screens. And a lot of people out there don't seem to realise that's just what life is. It's meaningless. Don't look at the next person over and get jealous because they didn't earn that. Right? They're not better than you. They didn't earn that. They were given that. The vast majority of people out there who become millionaires and even billionaires, they start off, there's a really good line in the IT crowd. It's so funny. And I was like, that's true, right? Denham Renham, who owns the main company, the company in the show, he says, in a big meeting, he says, "Gentlemen, when I first started Renham Industries, I had only two things in my possession. A dream and £17 million. Right? I didn't earn that. The money attracts money, right? Don't hustle. If you do hustle, hustle for happiness. Don't hustle for money. You're taking away all the wrong messages there, dude. Stop working like you are. Okay? You are very lucky to have a decent job in a decent place. Embrace it and enjoy it. Stop doing commission painting. Stop it. If you're burning the candle at both ends and it's affecting your life, stop it. Alright? Just stop. Alright. How did I go about... How did this come about? So with me working multiple jobs. Me working multiple jobs came about because of two reasons. Number one, I don't play well with authority and I don't like being told what to do. I don't like rules and systems and things that I have to follow. And number two, I'm very, very, very fucking lazy. Those are basically the reasons why I do what I do. Okay. Right now, I teach on both online as a private tutor and in several universities as a seminar teacher and different things like that, which I'm going to be starting up this September again. And of course, I do YouTube, right? And all of those things mean I earn an okay living. I'm not rich by any means, you know. And sometimes we struggle in certain months, especially when YouTube money goes down. And like we just had a really busy time in education, but a really low time in terms of YouTube. There have been certain times where it's been low on both counts because, you know, kids are all doing very well in school, don't need tutoring. The courses have ended because, you know, the school year has ended and things get a bit more tight, right? But, you know, it is life. And even when those kind of things happen, I just look around at my life and I realise what's important, right? I'm like, you know, I've got my missus, I've got my house, got me cats, you know, got me daughter. You know, I don't know why she was last there. She'll kill me. She'll come in here. She'll whack me on the back of the head. By the way, she's doing superbly well right now. My daughter's doing really well. She is absolutely making me so proud at the moment. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that's going. So, you know, things get better, you know, but you need to realise where the important things lie in your life. You hustling isn't that important. You working two jobs, all right, especially for like minimum recompense, isn't important, you know. I honestly think a lot of guys, when they get into their late 30s, 40s, when they're successful, they learn how to make their what they are work for them, if you know what I'm saying. I've got a mate called John, and he's a programmer, a computer programmer, and he's also lazy, like me, right? Doesn't like work very much. But he likes programming, he likes doing that, and there have been times in his life when he's earned next to nothing, right? When he's been really hard up, where he's struggled to pay the rent, he's been homeless, technically, you know, for a month or two every now and again, and he has to borrow money from parents and things like that. But eventually, he got the networking down. He got the people in his life that knew what to do about what he does, and he knew people who knew people, and eventually he applied for a very good job, remote job. Doesn't have to go into the office or anything like that most of the time, and it pays very well, and he's now doing really well, right? And it took him upwards of 20 years, 30 years to get to that point, right? That's 20, 30 years of struggle, of being on the breadline, basically, and scrounging together your money for a few pints with your mates, right? But I honestly think if you sat down and you spoke to him, he'd say, I wouldn't trade those years for anything, because we had some really good memories. The struggle, right? Going through it, and, because what was important wasn't, where am I going to be in 5 years? What was important was, where is my next beer coming from? And what kind of jokes can I tell the lads tonight? What kind of stuff can we talk about, right? Live in the moment. As a man, you don't really need to knuckle down and figure out what you're doing till you're approaching 40. If you're approaching 40, you should have some building blocks in place of what you want to do for the rest of your life, right? How you're going to earn. Not how you're going to make your millions. I don't mean that. I mean how you're going to earn. If you're in a relationship with somebody, how you're going to pay your way in rent, in bills, right? Because those normal things are in life. They're going to happen, right? If you're on that path, you have nothing to worry about. You don't need to be hustling, quote unquote. You don't. The system is rigged against people who try that. The only way to win the game is not to play. That's it. That's the only way you win the game. The game is life. Don't play it. Right? Don't play all these things people tell you to do. Do what makes you happy and what you think will earn you enough to pay your fucking mortgage. That's it. That's it. Don't look for anything more than that. If you've got a stable income, or even an unstable income, but you've still got a stable house over your head, things are going well, you're able to pay for things, you're winning. If you've got a job that's allowing you to do that without smashing your head into your desk, that's being a man. Now, that's being a man. Right? Watch me cut this guy's head off. Bang! There you go. Off comes the head. That's just being a man in the modern world, dude. So I would advise you to stop burning the candle at both ends. You don't need to. I need to. Do you know why? Because each of my jobs is a little slice of the big pie. Right? So I'm not really burning the candle at both ends. I still only work 8 hours a day. Right? I don't work any more than that. I've got family to take care of. Got my missus, got my daughter, right? I don't work any more than that. Right? I just do 2 or 3 things in those 8 hours that earns me money. So, if I were you, I would drop commission painting. Just drop it. You've got a business there, man. Throw yourself into your business. Maybe combine the two. Offer training courses on painting in your store. Right? That means you can do both. You're working in the store and you're keeping it into business hours and you're earning more money because people are coming in and taking those courses. Maybe do that, right? There are ways to go about this without torturing yourself. Don't listen to these people who say you need to work your fingers to the bone to do anything. Our parents and grandparents fucked up. Right? I love them, but they fucked up. The world is fucked. Most of us are probably never going to own property. Because they lived in the golden age. Our grandparents and parents, they lived in the golden age where even my mother, as a single mother, could afford a semi-large house on one income. Try that now, see how far you get. Even in the poorer areas of the UK, you can't. And forget it if you live near a city. God forbid in one. Right? No. 2 people working very good jobs can't afford a house. In the UK. That's literally how it is right now. Dude, remember that guy at the start of this, when I was in London? He was a fucking doctor. And I was a barman, and we lived in next rooms, opposite each other, in the same house. We could only afford the same amount of accommodation. Yeah. Nonsense, mate. Like, it's a rat race. Get out of it. Get out of it. Right? And don't listen. If somebody is over 45, I don't say okay boomer, because I think it's stupid. Don't say shit like that. But if somebody is over 45 and they try and give you, like, advice on what you should be doing about being more financially stable, or, you know, getting your own house, unless they are accredited experts in that field, as in they know what they're talking about, disregard everything they fucking say. Because they lived in a world that you don't live in now. Their world is dead. It doesn't exist. They climbed up the ladder, and they pulled up the ladder behind them. And then they're saying to you, just climb the ladder. There is no fucking ladder. You pulled it up. There's no ladder. There's no ladder here. Right? Don't listen. And don't listen to fucking hustle people who never earned anything before in their life. Don't listen to it. Right? Work for your happiness. Okay? Not for millions. Work for your happiness. That's what you should be doing, alright? Anyway. And by the way, there are exceptions to that, right? I know a few people who are a lot older than me, who know a lot more than me about taxes and property and things. Yep, I'll listen to those people, because it's their field, right? But your mum and dad, usually, when they're like, oh, why can't you buy a house? Why can't you? Dude, I can't buy a house because your generation fucked it for everybody else. That's why. That's why. Empirically so as well. Do any form of research. You guys fucked it for the rest of us. That's why. Okay? Sorry. It's a thing I'm quite passionate about. I love you a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more 40k Advantage. I'm not sure what we're doing yet. I might invite somebody on, or I might do one myself. We'll see. It's going to be a nice chill week, though. It's not going to be mad going on. So I'll see you very soon. Have a fun rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye now.